Good Thursday evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Weather Impact Team, and we are seeing some changes moving into our area. In fact, if you've been outside tonight, you may be feeling those changes. I know when I ran out to dinner just a little while ago, I could tell the difference with a little bit of a northwest breeze blowing and slightly lower dew points, not as much humidity around, and definitely we're not tracking any storms around. Those storms came through our area earlier today around lunchtime here in the metro area, and then they pushed down to the south, and that was the signal of the change moving our way. Those storms were ahead of a cold front that's moving in, and even though it's called a cold front, the temperatures behind it really aren't going to be any colder, but we do have some drier air that's going to be filtering in. So we have just been stuck in this pattern, it seems like, for the entire month of June practically, with the daily afternoon and evening showers and storms. And it seemed like we were just going to be stuck with that forever. And we kept saying we need something to come in here to shift the wind, to shift this pattern. And this front that's moving through our area is doing just that. So we're seeing a difference now in the type of air mass that we're under and the type of weather that we're going to be dealing with. Let's talk about those storms first, though, that came through our area a little bit earlier. This is a 12-hour loop that takes us to 9 o'clock this morning, and it shows you the progression of those showers and storms. They were moving into northwest Georgia early this morning here, and then around lunchtime, they came through the Atlanta area and along that I-85 corridor, most likely 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And this line had some heavy rain with it, some winds of around 40 miles an hour in some spots. But this line behaved in the sense that it never got to severe status. We never had winds of 58 miles an hour or greater. We didn't have any hail an inch in diameter or greater, but just some gusty winds and good heavy rain and some thunder and lightning here along that line. And then it pushed through pretty quickly. We picked up about 1/3 of an inch of rain here in Atlanta when it came through. It moved on over to the east and settled down. It got out of here, and then our wind shifted and it started feeling a little bit nicer. There's a closer look at how those showers looked, and that line appeared as it came through the Atlanta area. We'll look at this again, going from 9 in the morning here to around lunchtime right there, then after lunch moving down to the south, and still some areas picked up more than we got here in Atlanta. I mentioned we had about almost 3/10 of an inch of rain here in our area. That system still pushing down to the south there along the Florida Panhandle, where they're seeing some of the showers now. Also South Georgia getting in on some of that rain. And if you're looking for storms, you have to go up to the mid-Atlantic region, all still part of that front moving in, but it's a little more active here in parts of Virginia or North Carolina and Virginia. They're in the mid-Atlantic region where we have severe thunderstorm watches in effect and also some severe thunderstorm warnings. It also got pretty active here up toward New York, where Newark had some severe thunderstorm warnings earlier as that line moved through that area. But that is exiting, and that is where there's the severe weather threat out there for tonight. But for us, if you were with us yesterday, I was showing you how all of North Georgia was in the level 1 risk. And when Chesley was with you this morning, he was showing you that all of North Georgia and Metro Atlanta was in that level 1 risk. But as those storms moved through, the Storm Prediction Center started taking our area out of that level 1 risk, and now it is all gone. We do not have a severe weather risk in our area tonight. We just have these general showers that are possible. But again, here in Atlanta, we are going to remain dry. Take a look right now at the Almanac, and you'll see that we got up to 86 degrees for a high temperature this afternoon, which is actually a couple of degrees below the average. We should be at 88 for this time of year. Our low this morning was another mild start there in the 70s, right at 70 degrees. We should be at 69 for this time of year. Here you can see that about 1/3 of an inch of rain that we picked up today, 32/100ths of an inch. So our rainfall surplus is still a little bit more than 1.5 inches. And the sun set tonight just a little while ago at 8:51. So take a look at that. It seems like almost daily rain chances. And if you've been watching us every night at 9 o'clock, I've been showing you this calendar and updating it pretty much every night here. But all of the days that you see there in green, those are the days that we have picked up at least some sort of measurable rain. And we started off the month dry on June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Those are the days here at the beginning of the month when we were dry. And then starting on the 4th, we picked up 1/4 of an inch of rain. And then look at this, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. Through that week and a half, every day we had at least some sort of rain officially at Hartsfield-Jackson. We had a one-day break on Father's Day. Remember last Sunday when we had that nice day where we didn't have any rain? Then a trace on Monday, 900ths on Tuesday, 200ths on Wednesday, and then today, that third of an inch. So it seems like almost every day we have seen some rain so far this month. Now, though, as we go into your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm thinking these days are going to be registering 0 because we've got this drier air that is pushing in, and we do not have any rain chances here for Friday, Saturday, and on Sunday. Now, the temperatures are still kind of mild out there. We're 78 degrees here in Atlanta, also in Athens at 78, 79 in Covington. But there are some places that are a little cooler. Like look down right now at Peachtree City, we're at 74. Carrollton, you're at 71. Mid-70s in Marietta and Canton. Gainesville also there in the mid-70s. That's as this drier air moves in. Our dew points go a little bit lower. And with that drier air, it also allows our temperatures to fall a little bit more at night and early in the morning, down closer to the dew point. With the dew point falling, that helps the temperatures to come down a little bit more as well. Here's a look at the temperatures today. Now, this was pretty interesting. I want to walk you through this here, where we started off this morning there in those lower 70s, and then through the morning, we made it up to around lunchtime here at 1 o'clock. It was 84 degrees. But what happened in the 1 o'clock hour? Yeah, that line of storms moved through. So that rain-cooled air came in. We dropped from 84 at 1 to 74 at 2. So the temperature dropped 10 degrees thanks to that rain-cooled air. It moved through pretty quickly. We held in the 70s for a little bit, and then as the rain ended and the clouds started breaking up and the sun started coming through, we warmed back up into those 80s again and held in the 80s until about 8 o'clock. And now here at the 9 o'clock hour, we're in the upper 70s. So tomorrow, we're not going to see any rain in our area, and we think it's going to get warmer with temperatures getting up to around 90 degrees. So here's how it looks here. We've got those temperatures starting at 71 in the morning. By 11 o'clock, we are in the lower 80s, continuing to rise to about 90 degrees in the afternoon. But what is missing on this graphic? Do you see any raindrops here? Do you see any percentages there below those symbols? No, it is going to be a rain-free day, and it's going to be really nice. We'll have a few clouds that'll be mixing in with the sunshine at times, but I'm really thinking later in the afternoon, there will be a lot more sunshine and fewer clouds that we're going to have. So here's the forecast track. The leftover moisture well down to the south of us. You see how that's moving out. Now, I want to point out something to you. The past really few days, or really a couple of weeks actually, when we've been showing you our maps and we see the flow here in those arrows of the wind direction, in the past few days and days and days, those arrows have been coming out of the south. And that's been doing a couple of things, bringing in some warm air, but also transporting that Gulf moisture into our area with that southern flow. And that was making it just humid and muggy with that constant flow of moisture coming in from the Gulf. But today, you're seeing a difference there, or tonight actually, and that's with this. Look at these arrows now coming out of the west. And when we're studying meteorology and air masses, you have a maritime air mass, which is an air mass that comes in over the water. And that is one that usually has a lot of moisture with it. And then you have a continental air mass, or a flow coming in over land, and that is drier. So that's what's happening right now. This is a flow coming in over the land, which is a drier air mass. And so that's helping our dew points to come down a little bit, or the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, and the humidity goes down, and it feels a little bit better. And the rain chances go away, because even though it's going to get hot, we just don't have as much moisture to tap into for any of those showers and storms to bubble up. So tonight we're going to be fine out there, and then tomorrow maybe a couple of clouds mixing in with the sunshine to start. Lunchtime we're looking good, into the afternoon still looking good. This model still trying to maybe kick up a little shower here and there, but again, we're going with a less than 20% chance that you could get hit by one of those isolated showers. And then on Saturday, same thing. We're not seeing a Gulf flow moving into our area, or a southerly flow, and will be mainly dry. Again, this model trying to kick up a little shower here and there, but again, a less than 20% chance for your Saturday. And then on Sunday, looking good too. But we begin to see that flow trying to come back a little more easterly or southeasterly. Still, we're going with a less than 20% chance for a shower on Sunday. But here's what I want you to know. As we're celebrating the fact that our rain chances are going away for a few days. There is one consequence, and that is with this dry air in place, our temperatures are going to be able to rise a little bit more, and we're going to see a lot of hot air that'll be pushing in. We're talking about 93 on Saturday, 94 degrees on Sunday, and then more of those mid-90s going into next week. So let's talk about that dry air first. And this is a really good illustration of what we have with our moisture map. The blue color coming into North Georgia, that's indicating the drier air. Now you've got the yellows and even some oranges over into Alabama, some of those oranges there along the coastline. That's where the air is a lot more moist, where it's a lot more tropical or humid there. The blue is going to win out as we see this blue, look at that, get darker blue, pushing everything down to the south, all that moisture down to the south. So this is the drier air in place here for Friday, and pretty much the same thing for Saturday. The blue air or the blue color there indicating that dry air over us in North Georgia. On Sunday, you'll notice a little bit more, like not quite as dark blue, but a little more lighter here as we get a little more humidity, a little more moisture coming in. Still rain-free, we think, on Sunday, but the humidity levels will start coming up a little bit more, and then that's going to be the trend into Monday, Tuesday, and on Wednesday. So not really big tropical moisture in here, just a little more humidity building in, not as dry. And then with those temperatures in the mid-90s, that could help bubble up a couple of those showers here and there. And then that sticks with us going into the end of the week as well. So here's a look at the rain chances. Rain-free Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then even though we do introduce some rain chances, they're low rain chances Monday and Tuesday at only about 20%. Now, here's the thing about how that air is going to feel to you. This is a look at the dew points. And the dew point is the actual measure of how much moisture is in the atmosphere. And we've been seeing those dew points that have been in the lower 70s here for days. And that's pretty oppressive, that oppressive feel to the air. When you see the dew points coming down into the 60s, that is still humid, but not oppressive, but also not comfortable either. So we're just saying you're probably going to notice, and I noticed it tonight when I went out to grab a bite to eat after our 6 o'clock newscast, that I was already feeling some little bit of a northerly or westerly breeze and less humid air coming in here. That'll be with us on Friday, kind of Saturday and Sunday too, but then the humidity levels start coming up a little bit more going into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, here's the thing I want you to be aware of. We're going to have really hot air moving our way. On this map, where you see the orange color, that's moderate heat impacts. Where you start seeing the reds coming in, that's when the heat impacts become a little more major. And we're going to see more of that spreading out here during the day on Sunday as well, with a little more red around. And then going into Monday, especially on Tuesday, we begin to see some purples coming in. And that's when the heat impacts become a little more extreme. So we are looking ahead to next week. We may issue an 11 Alive weather impact alert for those days because of heat, where the heat impacts could be a little bit more extreme there. So here's another look at that. You can see that warm air that's over us now, but look at that heat dome out to the west that's going to start pushing over us, and definitely it will be here going into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as those temperatures rise even more. So here's a look at those temperatures. 90, if that's not hot enough for you on Friday, well, just wait. It gets hotter Saturday at 93, 94 Sunday, 95 Monday, 96 degrees here for your Tuesday with that really hot air in place. And here's a look at that drier air. Now, this model trying to kick it up a little green, but let's go with the dry conditions Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then into next week, that's when we see that 20% chance for a shower coming back as that moisture content in the air comes back a little bit more too, mixing with all that heating. 90 degrees for a high here on Friday, 93 on Saturday. Look how it rises on Sunday to 94, and then it keeps going. We're talking mid-90s going into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But also notice that the rain chances come up just a little bit to 20%. I think a lot of people will stay dry through this period, but just be aware with the heat and humidity bubbling up some of those showers, again, a 20% chance for that heading into next week. But look at these temperatures rising. 95 Monday, 96 Tuesday and Wednesday, 97 degrees here for your Thursday. So thanks for watching this extended weather update here on Weather Impact 24/7 on 11 Alive Plus. We'll do more of these for you throughout the day tomorrow, and of course through the weekend as well, as we watch these temperatures rising. If you're on YouTube right now, be sure to not only keep watching us on YouTube, but also download the 11 Alive app on your television, 11 Alive Plus on your app, and you'll not only see 11 Alive Plus with 24/7 channel that we have there, but also Weather Impact 24/7 with all weather, all the time. Great weather content and radar updates throughout the day. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a great night.